Hello, Facebook. Welcome to another Facebook Live. Here with Dan from Organic Digital. Thanks so much for joining me. I really appreciate it and appreciate your time. Today, we're talking about a little bit of a different topic, and it's basically, I guess I don't want to sound too self-promotionally because I don't want it to come across like that at all, but I've had a few different people ask me, and it's often actually the first or the last question that people ask me around what services I offer and why they're beneficial. And I really want to focus on the why of around a social media agency, and whether you're thinking about going with myself or with any other social media agency for that matter. Some things that you should look at. Make sure you check out a blog post I'll put the link in the comments around things that you should look for when you're deciding whether to go for a social media agency or deciding which social media agency to choose. And there are some tips around there, not only for things that you should look for from them, but also the expectations on yourself, because it is a two-way street, and they're the best relationships and the most profitable when you both understand and get one another. And really, I guess that leads into one of the biggest benefits that I find that people working with me is that you have someone external to your business come in and have a fresh set of eyes and a fresh look at what you're doing, and take an outsider's perspective on your product, your marketing, your sales, and how your brand online is being perceived. And that's generally where I would start with pretty much every client is that really in-depth strategy session, concept session that I'd sit down with you, and we go through, if it was around Facebook advertising, around who we're going to target, how we're going to target them, what creative we want to put in front of them, and what the offer is that we're going to put in front of them as well. And that session's really insightful because a lot of people see we usually get the whiteboard out or the butcher's paper and we write it out, and them seeing that from start through to finish and thinking about it. Sometimes we can, and I'm as guilty as anyone, we get caught in our own businesses that we don't actually take a step back and think about what we're putting out there and how we're coming across and how we're being portrayed. And having an external voice point that out for you is really insightful. And I see during these sessions the business owners or the marketers come in, and sometimes it might not sound like the most exciting thing to do, but by the time they get into this, you can see the passion and why they became a business owner in the first place. And they get passionate about their business because at the end of the day, you know your business best. And all I'm really trying to do is just draw as much information out of you so I can try and see different angles that we can use around Facebook advertising, or how different pieces of content that we can use, and really what resonates with your target audience as well. And so we go through a whole heap of information in that concept session, and then basically from there I would set up a strategy, which strategy is a really broad term, and my strategies certainly aren't as long as they're not long, huge documents, basically because I know at the end of the day that you as a business owner or the marketer will probably look at it a couple of times. You might print it off even, but it'll probably sit on your shelf there. But really it's there for us to both review, to make sure that we're both on the same page, that what we went through in that session, and then I've now put down into pen and paper that you understand, and that I've made sure I've got the right information out of you. And then we're both on the same page of what the plan is going forward as far as what goals we're looking to hit, and then what the funnel looks like as far as Facebook advertising. So when they're going to see what advertisement and what behavior we want them to do to then move them through to the next step and closer to basically converting and becoming a customer. So, and that brings me to actually probably the biggest benefit, and I've actually seen this in my own business, is that when I chat to these business owners around the creative that they want to use and what offer we're going to put in front of them, I just want them to focus on that. And while I will discuss and will try and lay out the funnel for you, that's my knowledge set, and I know the numbers and I know the ins and outs, and I know the technicalities of it and how you can move people from one step to the other, and the formats of the ads and all of that in-depth stuff that I don't want you to worry about, because at the end of the day, if you come up with great creative, you have a great offer, and we make sure that we're putting it in front of the right people, it will all sort itself out. And if you can focus just on the quality of that creative and that offer, and allow the data geek to be able to lay out that funnel and worry about, people as a pixel and how they're going to get them into that pixel and into custom audiences and how they're going to move them from one step to the other, that can be so overwhelming as a business owner. And so having someone external just worry about that and focusing on what really matters and putting something out there that matters to the end customer as well, that will actually come across in your creative as well. Because hand up confession, I've been guilty of this, ironically, in my own business, where I was promoting a webinar earlier this year, actually. And I can't believe I'm in this, but basically I came up with the funnel like I do for any other client, went through the process, set the ads up from start through to finish, and said, "Oh, it's going to be awesome. We'll create this video, and then the people will watch that, and then they'll get tagged, and then they'll move through to this next step. And if they perform that behavior, then they'll go through to that one, and they'll see this video." And it was just like this, choose your own adventure type thing. And I got so bogged down in that and looking at people as just a pixel or a person that would go from one step to the other, and basically I was just trying to push them to the point of purchase, that I was so focused on that I didn't actually focus enough on what I was putting out there and what I was putting in front of people, and it fell flat. It did, and it came across like that, and I learnt pretty quickly from the numbers, but also just the way that the ads were performing and the way the webinar performed at the end of the day. So I hand on heart know exactly what it means to have someone external to your business come in and have a good look at things and allow you just to focus on putting out some really, really good content, because that's what really matters on Facebook. It is such a unique medium that it's not just, you can't think of driving people not from A to B, as in from never seeing you before to the point of purchasing. You need to move them further along, and it's more like from A through to D, E, F, H, I, J, K, X, Y, Z type thing. So there's so many steps that they need to take before you can actually get them into that point. And I will worry about those steps. You just worry about putting the creative in front of them. So if you are, whether or not you're thinking about going with a social media agency or not, what to look for, make sure you check out that blog post. If you are interested in hearing what we do, again, I don't want to make this overly promotional, but feel free to reach out, leave a comment below, hit the Organic Digital headline up above this video and start a messenger conversation, or also put a link through to our contact page, including my email and my phone number, and you can just give me a call and have a chat about what I've discussed today. And if you've got any more questions on the ins and outs and how it works, it's actually much more affordable and much more accessible than you would think. So that was a little bit different today. I hope if you are thinking about bringing in an expert to boost your online presence, that you take some of the steps in what we've discussed today. But again, if you've got any questions, feel free to shout out. But thanks so much for joining us today. I really appreciate your time. Have a fantastic day. Bye-bye.